Hey everyone, I'm Kate Volman with Floyd Consulting. We work with organizations to help them with their company culture so people love coming to work and accomplishing great things together. And we get to work with some of the most unbelievable companies. And today I'm so excited because I'm joined by Dan Diesel. He is the VP of Business Strategy for Inselectro, one of our clients who has recently become certified to deliver the Dream Manager program. So Dan, thanks so much for taking some time.
Good afternoon.
So before we dive into Dream Manager program and the benefits and what you've experienced, why don't you tell us a little bit about the company?
Inselectro is, we're a distributor that sells materials that are used to make printed circuit boards. So into a very specialized industry. No one's heard of us, no one's heard of our customers, but anything that is electronic is our customers' customers. And those are the people that people have heard of, all the names. Think of anything electronic, automotive, computer, medical, etc.
And how many employees do you have?
We have about 175 employees in 12 different facilities throughout the United States.
Awesome. And how long have you been there? You've been there a long time.
It will be 39 years in January.
39 years.
Yeah.
That is crazy. You must have good culture over there for you to stick around that long.
The company is owned by a family. Even though we're a large company, it's still owned by the family. And the people in the family are phenomenal, and worked with them for 39 years, and I've enjoyed it very much.
That's awesome. So that kind of leads me into the first question. How did you discover Dream Manager, and whose idea was it to implement into the company?
Another person on our leadership team, our vice president of operations, was basically very interested and curious about the Dream Manager, and he had read the book by Matthew Kelly, and he decided that he wanted to try it, and he became our certified Dream Manager. And he had specific people on his team that he felt would benefit from this. He had a situation with an extremely high turnover in a couple of our West Coast operations, and the whole concept of being focused on people not just trying to what they do between 8 and 5, but in their whole lives. So he started that with several key people in that organization. He recognized that, because this is a part-time job for him, he recognized that, he could only work with so many people. And so I talked with him, and so I became the second Dream Manager in our organization.
Which is amazing. The more, the merrier.
Yes.
And I mean, you have the best title ever, Dream Manager.
Oh, I love the title.
So tell us so how long have you had the program?
We started it just a little under a year ago. I personally was certified 8 months ago, but so we actually have people that are now in the process of finishing the first year. And in fact, Jeff, who's who's the person who brought it to us, is working on what will be a second-year program, because a lot of the people wanted to continue beyond the initial first year.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't realize that we have content beyond the first year.
And that's what Jeff has literally just got exposed to that, and so I'm a few months behind him. So of the 9 people I work with, I have 2 people who are at session 8. So I'm a few months away from getting to the 1-year point.
Oh, good. That's so exciting. So talk about what you've seen. How has it impacted the organization and your people?
Well, I think we've reached out to about 20 people since we started, so it's not the entire organization. But what has happened is that's become a seed to make a difference in especially in the operations where we were having extremely high turnover, and that. I mean, last month, as an overall company, we had 0 voluntary turnover, which is the first month we've had that since I can remember. But going back at least as far as the KPI on our spreadsheet is, we've never had 0 for a month.
Wow, that's
And
awesome.
and where it has made a difference is really it's not as much about the turnover, which I know is important, but just on the individual lives. Part of our culture is to be very in touch with people and wanting them to succeed, not just at work, but in general. And what I've seen in the people I've worked with is such an improvement in their attitude, in the way they approach things, just in things that are not work related, but it immediately affects work. You've got people that would never smile that are now joking with people. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into specific names, but I've seen such specific people, the change in the time. And it's just really them recognizing how important it is to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So going back, I mean, and like you said, I mean, I think everything plays into each other, right? Like the turnover, obviously that's important. ROI, like when you think about kind of long-term benefits with a company, a lot of them are looking at what's that bottom line? Is it impacting the bottom line? What would you say to someone that's really
Well,
looking at that?
yeah, I mean, I would say specifically in the operations Jeff first started with, because that's where he targeted. The turnover was costing us a lot more than just the cost. When you look at the mistakes that are made by people with less seniority, because when you turn over someone, it comes in. So we've seen in those specific operations a huge benefit. Now, the group of people I'm working with, it's harder to quantify a bottom line because I'm working with more middle managers and things like that. But you just seeing an attitude and how to attack something. One of the people I was talking with made the comment that he was putting in so many hours that he was not working well. And on one of the sessions, we start talking about prioritization, delegation, things like that. He said he made a difference in his life, that not only did it reduce the number of hours he had to work, but improved what he was able to accomplish. Now, how do
Oh,
you put that in the bottom line? I'm not sure, but I have seen a great thing, to the point that we're looking at who should be the third person who goes through training so that we can reach out to more people, because we're kind of, I didn't give up my day job, nor did Jeff. So how do you, we can't be a full-time dream manager with the model we've taken. So how do we get another person engaged to help people?
yeah. And I think it's a good point that you're able to, you guys kind of like tested it out, just kind of going, Jeff
Hmm.
started it, kind of got everyone going, and then and then people start talking about it because it becomes a little bit more known. And
Yes.
then I'm sure you have people that are reaching out to you
Yeah,
asking about the program.
I would say everyone who's come through who approached me to join was through a referral. So
Yeah.
it was not like I went out and said, "Come on, guys, we need you to be in this another program that we're running as a corporation." It's like, yeah, I was talking to so and so, and this is something I'd like to know a little bit more about, and that's how we get most of our referrals now.
And obviously you guys, family owned business, you have a good culture. How has it impacted the culture just overall with your people?
I think it reinforces what has already been our culture and just made it stronger. A few people who I would say probably, I can think of a couple people in the program that probably would not have thrived, that because they've gone through the program are now doing well at our company. So I'm again, it's hard to say how it impacted the culture as opposed to its impacts individuals. And
Yeah.
so making individuals stronger makes the culture stronger.
That is so great. So what has surprised you about the Dream Manager program?
Well, when I first was exposed to it, before I went through the training and before I personally experienced it, it was kind of like, okay, this is common sense. And one thing about Matthew Kelly's books, and I've read his books not so much from the secular side, but from his Catholic books, most of his teaching is very common sense. So I'm kind of like, okay, what's the big deal? But when you focus on things and when you work through specific exercises, that's what makes a difference. Even in my life, there's things that have made a difference because I've gone through the Dream Manager program as a person, not as a coach. And then coaching people, it just, I look forward to it. The days when I have a coaching session on my calendar, it's usually the highlight of my day.
Aw, that's so great. Yeah, most people, when I ask them what surprised them about the program, everyone, I mean, really 99% of them say the same thing: the simplicity. The simplicity of the program, and just these aha moments that people have, because we're all so, just everyone's lives are getting more and more complex, and so much is coming at us every day. And so to remember to kind of get back to the basics, and it makes sense when you actually see it.
And I think it's the simplicity and the depth.
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of like contradictory, but when you really get right down to it, by repeating the things, keeping it simple, but there's a depth involved. It's not just a fluff. I mean, I'm sure you have too, but I've been involved in a lot of business improvement programs over the year that are, okay, it's fluff, it's checking the box. There's things on here. It can be life-changing. I mean, I would say most people who go through it will say life-changing. I mean, I'll be honest, there's been a couple people who don't commit to it, don't want to spend the time to read, don't want to spend the time to really make a difference. It's just, I want to come get together. Those, people get out of it what they put in it.
Yeah.
But I find for almost everyone I work with, they put in a lot because they're driven to do that. And it's kind of like a aha moment for them.
Yeah. I love that. That's what's so great about anyone who coaches people. That's just the best feeling, when you see those light bulbs go off and you
Absolutely
get to experience those exciting, I mean, especially the people in the organization that you talked about, that you guys helped to change their life. There's no way that's not going to translate into business, into their work, into becoming the best that they can be in both areas of life.
Yes.
So you talked about how Dream Manager has changed your life personally and professionally.
Yes.
How so?
Believe it or not, I have lost a lot of weight. I'm still overweight, significantly overweight, but I've lost a lot of weight. But more importantly, it reinforced things that I knew but I wasn't doing. Because it's not just about a physical, but it's really the 4 pillars. And when you look at each one of those 4 pillars, it was kind of eye-opening about, why am I not spending a little more time working on my emotions, my relationships with people? I'm sitting here thinking, I have good relationships with people, but I recognized a couple relationships I had weren't where they needed to be, and were both bringing me down, and were not helping the people that I was dealing with.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. And it sheds that light, and it also holds you accountable, which is so great.
I think the accountability becomes a big issue, and I think with the people I work with, because it's not so much that I hold them accountable, but as they make commitments and say them out loud, and then it's my job to help them, here's where you're at, and here's where you didn't make it. It's not like I'm going to say, how dare you didn't make your commitment. But knowing that commitment was there helps them, motivate them to move forward. And sometimes it's really just about making commitments. I can't remember which book it was of Matthew Kelly where he mentioned that we sleepwalk through life.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people do. And there were a few areas in my life that I don't sleepwalk, I'm fine. Now I recognize now, I was sleepwalking in certain areas, ignoring issues. And it forced me to deep dive much beyond what my coach came up with. Just the process of the inward reflection forced me to do that.
Yeah. That's so great. And that's such a good point. It's again, we can just definitely go about our day, just not really being strategic or thinking about it, which again, just kind of goes back to business. If your people aren't living strategic lives personally, there's no way they're going to come in strategically and be thinking about the business and what they need to get done. Also, the thing that's so funny about accountability is that it's just the fact that you're going to come in to
Absolutely.
see you, Dan, and for you to say to them, did you do this? Like just knowing that you're going to ask them the question.
Yeah. It's going to be on my computer screen. They know exactly where it's going to be on my computer screen. And, or if I'm dealing with them remotely, they know exactly what's going to come out of my mouth.
Yep. So they want to be able to say, got it done. This is what I did. So that's so great. So what advice would you give to someone who's considering possibly hiring a dream manager and starting this in their organization?
I think the first advice I would give to anybody, which I think helped me, is they may want to be a client of a dream manager for a couple months and see if that really does fit with them personally, because it is the support of the leadership that would make this happen, because it is a huge commitment for a company, but for the returns, it's not that big of a commitment. But you suddenly have people, wait a minute, for 1 hour, they're not going to be at their work. They're going to be talking about themselves. But if that makes an improvement in them for the other hours of the month, it's worth it. But I think that would be my first advice, is be a client yourself so that you have the ability to be an ambassador. And in our culture, as I said, we did not hire a full-time dream manager. So if the budget doesn't support that, maybe it is finding someone in the organization who's motivated to do it and let them start as the dream manager and see how it works and then grow from there.
Yeah. Baby steps. We can take baby steps, especially when an organization has 100+ employees. I mean, it's an investment. It's a lot, but there's steps that we can do. As Matthew always says, don't let what you can't do stop you from doing what you can do.
And I think the biggest thing is the reason why I recommend being a client yourself is they will probably then see the best way to implement it in their organization. Because it may be a little scary when it's just, I've read the Dream Manager book and I've seen the sales brochure, but you have to experience it to really understand the power of its simplicity.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point too, Dan. So many people read the book and they say, oh, I read the book and now I'm implementing the program. No, the book doesn't teach you how to implement the program. It's very different.
And I would argue that, in fact, what my impression of what the program was from reading the book and what it is totally different, because the book is more about the results of the program,
right?
Not about the program itself.
Yep. Yeah, you can take pieces from the book and kind of, have a dream board and do some stuff, but this is a whole curriculum. Some people don't realize that. So, all right, good. Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking some time today. We so appreciate it. And I'm so glad that everything's going so well, and very much looking forward to meeting your third dream manager soon.
Okay. Thank you, Kate.